My brother's fiancée accused me of getting her pregnant right after I let her go from work. My family sided with her. But when the truth came out in court, it shocked everyone. I'm Daniel, a 35-year-old guy who runs a small electronics repair shop in Brookfield, Texas. I earn a steady living, pay my dues, and mostly keep to myself. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic, just your typical man trying to live honestly. I never thought such an ordinary life could make me a target. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. My older brother, Michael, has always been the golden child. At 38, he seemed to have it all. Thriving career in advertising, a neat home in the suburbs, drives an Audi. He married young, divorced clean, and always seemed to navigate life with ease. About 3 years ago, he introduced us to Clara, his new girlfriend. She was 32, worked in banking, and seemed completely different from his ex-wife. But from that very first uneasy family dinner at Mom's place in Dallas, I felt something was off about her. She had this way of steering conversations back to herself, dropping compliments that sounded sweet but stung underneath. I still remember when Mom served her signature roast, Clara smiled and said how brave Mom was for attempting such a heavy dish at her age. Another time, she told my cousin Rachel how bold she was to wear those colors with her skin tone. Everyone else seemed enchanted. Me? I stayed neutral. Didn't fake excitement. Didn't pretend we were instant family. And that's exactly when I became her target. Clara always had an angle. She'd twist other people's stories so she could shine in comparison. I once watched her argue with a teenage cashier at Walmart for nearly 20 minutes over a $3 coupon, until the poor kid nearly cried. Every interaction with her felt like a contest she had to win. Months later, Michael announced their engagement. At the barbecue after, Dad pulled me aside. That woman's trouble, Daniel. Mark my words. He saw through her, too. But like he said, it wasn't our place to tell a grown man who to marry. I thought little more about it, until Michael asked me to give Clara a job at my shop. She wanted part-time work while planning the wedding. He figured I'd help family. When I hesitated, Mom called, insisting family supports family and it'd only be temporary. Michael pushed harder, saying I owed him for referring me some business last year. Against every screaming instinct, I agreed. Biggest mistake of my life. From day one, Clara was a disaster. Late arrivals, rude to customers, bossy with staff. She constantly interrupted Ethan, my lead tech, contradicting his advice with nonsense. She even deleted a customer database we were recovering, then blamed unclear procedures. The final straw came when I caught her snooping through private messages on a doctor's laptop we were repairing. Confidential stuff. When I confronted her, she didn't look ashamed, she just smirked and called it curiosity. I documented everything for weeks. Then I fired her. Calmly, with evidence. Showed Michael. He seemed to accept it. But that same night, after obviously speaking to Clara, he called back with venom. You never gave her a fair chance, he snapped. She's devastated about how you treated her. I told him I'd given her more than enough chances, all documented. Yeah, right, he spat. You've always been this way. Acting superior. Refusing to help your own blood. She's my future wife, and you do this? Screw you, man. That's when things turned bizarre. At gatherings, Clara either ignored me completely or slipped in little passive-aggressive digs. Then her behavior shifted. She started finding reasons to be near me, brushing past me, whispering suggestive comments. I stayed distant but polite. Still, one Labor Day barbecue, she cornered me in the kitchen. Too close. Ran her hand down my arm. I stepped back fast and told her I needed to help Dad with the grill. I caught her smirking at me for the rest of that day. 3 months later, my life blew apart. One evening near closing, Michael stormed into my shop. Face red with fury. You're dead, he shouted. Ethan rushed out from the back. Michael glared at me. Clara's pregnant. She says you're the father. Explain. I froze. Couldn't even speak. Then I told him he was insane, I'd never touched Clara. But he didn't believe me. He lunged at me, grabbed my shirt. Ethan had to drag him off. Within days, my name was ruined. Mom called crying about betrayal. Cousin sent lectures. Uncle Robert told me I was shameless. Everyone saw me as a monster. Everyone, except Dad. That woman's been scheming since day one, he told me firmly. We're going to fight this. But the rumors spread. Brookfield's a small city, gossip moves fast. Clients cancelled contracts. Old friends stopped returning calls. Even the cafe owner where I'd eaten breakfast for years avoided eye contact. My business sank nearly overnight. Clara kept spinning her lies. Adding nude details. How I supposedly manipulated her. How I pressured her for an abortion. Always with tears in her eyes. Yet, no medical proof. No DNA test. Every time it was requested, she refused, saying it endangered the baby. The only one who stood by me at work was Ethan. I saw how she acted, boss, he said. Always touching you. Always smirking. I'll tell anyone who asks. But the damage was done. The worst night came when Michael showed up drunk, pounding on my shop door. He hurled a brick through the window and came at me. I defended myself. One punch to his jaw and he dropped. Cops arrested him for property damage and assault. Mom sobbed over the phone. How could you do this to your brother? She wailed. She didn't even want to hear my side. Dad, though, stood with me. You did right pressing charges, he said. Finally, the judge ordered a prenatal DNA test. Clara's lawyer tried stalling, but with press coverage, the court forced it through. The results? Probability of paternity, 0%. That zero saved my life. But then it unraveled further. My lawyer uncovered forged documents, fake ultrasounds, even medical papers from non-existent clinics. Turns out, Clara had never been pregnant at all. She was a manipulator. A pathological liar. And she'd pulled similar scams before. In court, the evidence crushed her. False documents. Testimonies. Contradictory social media posts. Ethan's statement. Everything lined up. The judge ruled, aggravated defamation, forgery, moral damages. Clara was fined heavily, hit with a restraining order, and forced to post public retractions online admitting she lied. Michael sat through it all, pale as a ghost. Never once looked at me. After the trial, relatives who'd abandoned me trickled back with excuses. Michael tried calling, I blocked him. Later, he wrote a letter asking to reconcile. I burned it without finishing. Some bridges should never be rebuilt. 1 year later, my business not only recovered, it grew. I hired more staff, expanded to a bigger space in San Marcos. Clients returned. Truth slowly replaced the lies. Michael? He moved to Arizona. Clara vanished to Seattle after skipping payments. As for me? I learned that real justice isn't revenge. It's restoration. Not perfect restoration, but enough to stand tall again. So, what do you think? Did Michael deserve another chance? Or was cutting him off the right choice? He believed a woman he'd known 3 years over a brother he'd known his whole life. That's not something you just bounce back from. Thanks for listening to my story. Sometimes, it's easier to tell strangers because they actually listen.